All right, thank you guys. We actually have a live audience here today. We have Ariel, Isaiah, Cousin Thicc, and Mackenzie. So I'm sure we're going to see some cameos at some point during the video. I said to him, I got to get a studio or something. I can't just be doing videos in the living room. While people are in the living room, like trying to have conversation and like do things that you do in a living room and not record YouTube videos. But guys, it's Cousin Thicc's birthday. Actually, it was yesterday, correct?
It's Thursday.
Oh, it was Thursday. Oh, here she comes. She's got a. There's Cousin Thicc, which
hello.
You were a big hit in the last video. I don't normally get comments, and I think we got about 30 comments. So anyway, guys, you got to tell Cousin Thicc happy birthday today. What'd you do for your birthday last night?
Went to the strip club.
You went to the strip club?
You drove me there.
No, I don't do things like that. But anyway, how was your birthday this year, Cousin Thicc?
It was good.
It was good. Do you remember it?
Not my actual birthday, no.
No, you don't actually. Well, that means it's a good birthday. Now, tomorrow is Kenzie's birthday. Kenzie's birthday. Which, I don't know if Kenzie's coming in. I know.
Yeah, I will.
Hi, Kenzie. And who's this? Chocolate Milk?
Yeah.
The cat? How old's Chocolate Milk?
I forget.
You forget.
Almost
Okay.
9.
But at least you don't forget how old you are. You're turning 9.
Yeah.
Wow. One more year in the single digits. Everybody's growing up. But anyway, I guess it's time to get this podcast started here, guys. And we're going to start with the, I don't even have the right game queued up. It's the Indians taking on the Twins, 2:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think everyone's in the living room. They're waiting on Chinese food today, by the way. I think that's why we have an audience. But anyway, the Twins are minus 170, totals 9.5. And if you like the Indians in an upset on the road here, they're plus 145 for some money line cash. Now, Cleveland's also minus 130, catching the 1.5 on the run line. Sam Hentges pitching for the Indians. Kenta Maeda for Minnesota. And, of course, despite another disappointing day for me on my Patreon website, the good news is we did manage to improve to 4-0 in our last 4 crowd pleaser teasers on that Patreon page. Now, the bad news is, one, we lost a bunch of premium picks yesterday. I'm not going to make any qualms about that. And two, unfortunately, I don't have a crowd pleaser teaser pick going off here today, so I guess it's kind of pointless even mentioning that we're 4-0 in our last 4 crowd pleaser teasers. But if you still want to get in on the action here today, we're still 3-1 in our last 4 extra daily pick tier package plays on that Patreon website. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We currently have over 1,125 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now, the Twins have lost 2 out of their last 3 ball games. One of those losses was a 4-1 defeat to Cleveland. The last place Twins are currently 11 games below 500. And they've gotten the W in only 16 out of 39 home games. And as a matter of fact, this Minnesota pitching staff is in the bottom 3 in scoring, bottom 5 in striking batters out at home. Kenta Maeda comes into this contest here with a 4.85 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP. Minnesota's taking on a Cleveland squad who's done a real nice job in their divisional games this year. Cleveland's 13-7 on the road against the AL Central, and they're also 22-13 overall for the year within divisional competition. Now, this Cleveland pitching staff is averaging nearly double-digit strikeouts on the road, and they're also holding their opponents to less than 7.5 hits a game when they travel. Now, despite a few rocky starts for Sam Hentges, he still only suffered just 1 loss on the season, while also striking out 37 batters in just over 32 innings. When it comes to the total on this one, the Indians went 60% to the over in their last 10 ball games. Minnesota saw 3 out of their last 4 home games get over the line themselves. The Twins are also 25-14 to the over at Target Field. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Indians plus 1.5 and the over 9.5 runs. I actually wish the viewers could see what I'm seeing right now. We had a burp, I think a fart. Kenzie got slapped in the head, and now she's the girl who's turning 9. She's a pillow. She's being laid on right now. So, I wish we could just turn the camera. People could see what I'm seeing right now as I'm trying to deliver the good news. But anyway, keeps things interesting. All right, next game. What are we doing here, guys? Next game, Mariners, White Sox, 2:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Chicago White Sox are minus 190, totals 8. Lance Lynn for Chicago, Logan Gilbert for Seattle. Now, Gilbert has struck out 36 batters in just 34 innings of work. The righty also comes into today's start with a 1.12 whip. The Mariners have successfully cashed in on the run line in 7 out of their last 10 ball games. I was just blinded because the curtains in the living room were open. There's a lot of sun. They're also 21-11 against the number in their road divisional games this year. They're taking on a Chicago club who's been awful with regard to the run line here recently. The White Sox actually failed to cover the number in 9 out of their last 10 ball games. Chicago's also gone just 1-6 straight up in their last 7, and they scored 3 runs or less 6 times during that span. Now, total-wise, Chicago's 26-14 to the under at Guaranteed Rate Field. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Seattle Mariners plus 1.5 and the under 8 runs. Do you remember one year we did a live stream and you burped on camera and like everybody went crazy? They were like rating it like 10 out of 10. It was just loud, man. I think it was
He definitely farted over here, though.
oh man, he farted. No good. That's bad. Hopefully he doesn't get stuck in the couch cushions. Next game, Pirates, Cardinals, 2:15 p.m. East. The St. Louis Cardinals are minus 140, numbers 8. Adam Wainwright for St. Louis. JT Brubaker for Pittsburgh. But as good as Brubaker's been, the righty's just 4-6 thus far in the season. The last place Pirates have the second fewest wins in the National League, as multiple people are yawning in the background here in our live studio audience. I guess this content isn't all that exciting. Pittsburgh's in the bottom 10 in hitting, and they're averaging just 3.1 runs a game on the road. They've also gotten the W in just 12 of 37 games away from home. And they're taking on a St. Louis club who's struggled themselves lately, but still has a winning home record on the year. This Cards lineup is also in the top 5 in fewest strikeouts at the plate. Nolan Arenado's got 15 homers and knocked in 49. Meanwhile, Tyler O'Neill's hit 15 bombs and knocked in 35 himself. Now, the Cardinals also have Adam Wainwright on the bump here today. The righty's got 5 wins thus far in the year, along with a 3.74 ERA. Wainwright's punched out 84 batters and has a whip of just 1.12. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of St. Louis's last 4 home games stayed under the line. They're also 22-14 to the under at Busch Stadium for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Pirates are 25-15 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals minus 140 and the under 8 runs. Real quick, I had mentioned we're waiting for Chinese. What's everybody getting today? I'm sure the viewers... Beef lo mein. Chicken and broccoli. Double chicken and some sweet and sour chicken. Pork fried rice. Orange chicken. White rice. Was there like a hot dog? They got a kids menu, but no hot dogs in there. So that's what we're having, man. We're some fat people. The fat people have spoken. Sounds like a feast we're gonna have here shortly. But anyway, next game: Orioles versus the Blue Jays, 3:07 p.m. Eastern first pitch. Toronto's minus 270, totals 10.5. Hyun-Jin Ryu for Toronto, Keegan Aiken for Baltimore. Now, Aiken's still winless on the season, 0-3 with a 6.42 ERA. The lefty's also coming into today's game with a 1.57 whip. The last place Orioles are 28 games below 500, and they have the fewest wins in the entire American League. The O's have also gotten the W in just 12 out of 38 road games. Baltimore scores only 3.5 runs a game when they travel. They're taking on a Blue Jays club who won 5 out of their last 6. This Toronto lineup is also in the top 3 in the league in both scoring and hits. Vlad Guerrero Jr. leads the majors in homers, RBI, and OPS. The Sluggers hit 25 homers and knocked in 62. He also has an OPS of 1.116. Meanwhile, Marcus Semion's hit 18 home runs and knocked in 45. They also have Hyun-Jin Ryu on the bump here today. He's 6-4 with a 3.25 ERA and a 1.08 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, Toronto's 60% to the over in their divisional games at home. Meanwhile, Baltimore's gone 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves. 3-1 to the over in their last 4 road games. I'm going to lean toward the Toronto Blue Jays -1.5 and the over 10.5 runs. If you guys need to talk or whatever, just go ahead, because nobody watches the video this long into it. Like, we're 10 minutes in, nobody's watching this right now, so do what you have to do. Next, they just go to the quick pick recap at the end. So, next game, Royals Rangers 405 East. Texas Rangers are -155, numbers 8. Kyle Gibson for Texas, Kyle Zimmer for Kansas City. Zimmer's a perfect 3-0 thus far in this season. 2.48 ERA, 1.00 WHIP. KC's allowing just 7.6 hits a game when they travel. Salvi Perez, he's in the top 25 in batting average, homers, and RBI. The catcher is hitting .285 with 18 homers and 47 ribbies. Meanwhile, Carlos Santana's hit a dozen homers and knocked in 42. Now, this Royals lineup is in the top 3 in the league and fewest strikeouts at the plate. They're taking on a last-place Texas club who's now 20 games below 500, and they lost 7 out of their last 10. Now, this Rangers lineup scores just 3.9 runs a game at Globe Life Field, and they rank dead last in home walks at the plate. And despite some really good stuff out of Kyle Gibson this season, he's averaging only .7 strikeouts per inning. Now, total-wise, the Rangers are 22-16 to the under as the home team. Meanwhile, the Royals have gone 21-16 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Kansas City Royals +1.5 and the under 8 runs. Next ball game, Phillies versus the Mets, 410 Flushing, Queens. Mets are 250, totals 6. DeGrom for New York, Eflin for Philly. Zach Eflin's just 2-6 on the season with a 4.39 ERA. The Phillies have lost 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they scored 3 runs or less 8 times during that span. The Titans also play their worst baseball on the road. Winners of just all right. See you guys. Have a good one now. Winners of just 14 out of 38 road games. The Phillies are in the bottom 10 in road hits allowed. This Philly lineup also is in the bottom 5 in strikeouts at the plate offensively, having trouble making contact with the baseball. Now they're taking on a first-place Mets club who's very good at home. New York's gone 23-10 straight up at Citi Field, and they lead the majors in fewest runs allowed. The Mets give up only 2.1 runs a game in Flushing, Queens. Jake DeGrom's on the bump here tonight. He's 7-2 with a .50 ERA. Now, the righty struck out 117 batters and also has a whip of just .51. Total-wise, 7 out of New York's last 10 ball games stayed under the number. They're also 25-8 to the under as the home team. Meanwhile, the Phillies are 11-7 to the under in their divisional games on the road. I'm going to lean toward the New York Mets -1.5 and the under 6 in the tight window. Next ball game, Angels-Rays, 4:10 p.m. Eastern start time. The Tampa Bay Rays are -160, total 7.5. Shane McClanahan for Tampa, Alex Cobb for Los Angeles. And as good as Cobb has looked in several starts, he still comes into today's contest with a 4.41 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP. The Angels are on a 4-game losing streak, and they averaged only 2.2 runs a game during that span. They're also still going to work without Upton, Trout, and possibly Suzuki here today. Now, this Angels club is struggling a bit on the road. They've gotten the W in only 11 out of 30 road games against American League competition. Their pitching staff's in the bottom 5 in runs allowed, bottom 5 in hits allowed. They're taking on a Tampa club who's on a 3-game winning streak themselves, playing some pretty good baseball here recently, and they actually only gave up 5 total runs during that 3-game span. Now, this Tampa pitching staff gives up just 3.2 runs a game at the Trop. Shane McClanahan has a couple of wins thus far in this season, 54 strikeouts and just 44 innings of work. The Tampa Bay Rays are also holding their opponents to just 6.7 hits a game on their home field. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the scoring in this one, 2 out of Tampa's last 4 home games did get over the number. Meanwhile, the Angels are 7-3 to the over in their last 10 themselves, 3-1 to the over in their last 4 road games. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays -160 and the over 7.5. Next matchup, Nats, Fish, 410 pitch. Both teams are minus a $1.10, pretty much a coin flip in this one. Total at 7.5 flat. Patrick Corbin for Washington, Zach Thompson for Miami. Now Thompson comes into today's start with a 1.50 ERA and a 1.00 whip. The Marlins are in the top 10 in fewest hits allowed per contest. They give up just 3.3 runs a game on their home field. They're taking on a Washington team who still has a losing road record despite the recent success. The Nats are currently a game below 500, and they've gotten the W in just 15 out of 34 road games. Now, this Washington Nationals lineup, they put just 3.9 runners across the plate a game. Patrick Corbin also comes into today's game with 5 wins on the season and 62 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, the Nats are 21-9 to the under in their divisional games. Meanwhile, Miami's 14-10 to the under against the NL East themselves. I'm going to lean toward the home team, Miami Marlins, minus a $1.10 and the under 7.5. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Rockies versus the Dodgers, wherever it's, there it is. Rockies, not the Dodgers, Rockies Brewers, 4:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch. The Milwaukee Brewers are minus 190, totals 8, juice to the over. Good thing the live audience left. They would have probably been a little critical of me there over that stumble over my words. But anyway, Adrian Hauser for Milwaukee, Antonio Senzatella for Colorado. Senzatella is just 2-7 on the year with a 4.83 ERA and a 1.40 whip. The Rockies have the fewest road wins in all of baseball, and they're dead last in road hitting. Colorado's gotten the W in only 6 out of 35 away games, and they're scoring only 2.6 runs per contest in that very same category. They're taking on a Brewers club who's on a 3-game winning streak, and they got the W in 5 out of their last 6. The first place Brewers are currently 10 games above 500, and they lead the major leagues in striking batters out. Adrian Hauser has a 3.95 ERA and 56 strikeouts. Milwaukee also holds their opponents to less than 7.2 hits a game. Total-wise, Milwaukee's 23-16 to the over at American Family Field. Meanwhile, the Rockies went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers minus 1.5 and the over 8 runs. Next game, Braves-Reds, 4:10 p.m. East. The Cincinnati Reds are minus 130, numbers 9. Luis Castillo for Cincinnati, Ian Anderson for Atlanta. Anderson's 5-3 on the season with a 3.33 ERA. The righty struck out 79 batters and has a 1.19 whip. Atlanta's won 6 out of their last 10 ball games, and they beat Cincinnati last night by the final of 3-2. Despite their losing record thus far in the season, the Braves actually have a winning record against National League competition. They're in the top 10 in scoring, top 5 in walks at the plate away from home. Ronald Acuna's in the top 5 in the major leagues in homers and OPS. The outfielder has hit 20 home runs along with an OPS of 983. Freddie Freeman's also hit 17 home runs and knocked in 42. They're taking on a Cincinnati club who lost 6 out of their last 8 themselves. And they play just 500 baseball at the Great American Ballpark. This Reds pitching staff is in the bottom 3 in runs allowed at home, and they walk over 4.2 batters a game as the home team. Luis Castillo is on the mound here today. He's just 2-10 with a 5.61 ERA and a 1.51 whip. When it comes to the number in this one, Cincinnati's 22-12 to the over on their home field. Atlanta's 41-34 to the over for the entire year themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves plus about 10 and the over 9 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be Yankees versus the Red Sox, 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. The Boston Red Sox are minus 130, totals 10 flat. Nathan Eovaldi for Boston, Jordan Montgomery for New York. Montgomery comes into today's matchup with a 4.03 ERA. The Yankees have won just 17 out of 39 divisional games this year, and they're in the bottom 10 in scoring. They're taking on a Boston club who's 19-10 against the AL East themselves, top 3 in the majors in hits on average per contest. Xander Bogaerts is in the top 10 in batting average, top 15 in OPS. The shortstop is hitting .320 with an OPS of .930. Meanwhile, Rafael Devers is in the top 10 in both homers and RBI as well. The third baseman has hit 18 home runs and knocked in 60. The Bo Sox also have Nathan Eovaldi on the bump here today, 7-4 record with a .390 ERA and 78 strikeouts. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Boston Red Sox saw their last two contests at Fenway stay under the line. Meanwhile, the Yankees are 20-16 to the under when they bat first. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox -130 and the under 10 runs. Next ball game, Cubs versus the Dodgers, 7:15 Eastern start time. The LA Dodgers are -210, totals 9. Julio Urias for Los Angeles, Alec Mills for Chicago. Mills comes into this contest with a .518 ERA and a 1.48 WHIP. Chicago's won just 16 out of 37 road games, and their lineup's in the bottom 5 in hits on average per contest. Chicago's also scoring just 3.8 runs a game on the road. They're taking on a Dodger club who's done a real nice job on their home field. LA's currently 24-13 as the home team, and they're 14 games above 500 for the year. This LA pitching staff strikes out nearly 11 batters a game at Dodger Stadium. They're also holding their opponents to just 3.4 runs per contest on their home field. Julio Urias has gone 9-3 thus far in the season, .399 ERA and a 1.07 WHIP. The lefty struck out 95 batters in just 88 innings of work. When it comes to the total in this one, LA's last 4 home games all stayed under the line. Chicago also saw, 4 out of their last 5 road games stay under the number themselves. I'm going to lean toward the LA Dodgers -1.5 and the under 9 runs. And with that, guys, I believe we're at our next and final. Oh, hello. I'm still recording, guys. But we're now at the 22-minute mark, so I know for a fact nobody is watching now. Next matchup, A's-Giants, 10:05 East. Giants are -120, totals 8. Alex Wood for the Giants, Frankie Montas for Oakland. Now, Montas has 7 losses on the season, .479 ERA. He also comes into today's contest with a 1.35 WHIP. The A's lost 5 out of their last 7 ball games, bottom 10 in the league in hits allowed per contest. Oakland's also in the bottom 10 in striking batters out. They're taking on a first-place Giants club who wins a lot of ball games at home. They're 25-10 straight up at Oracle Park. They lead the majors in fewest home walks allowed. The San Francisco pitching staff also allows just 3.6 runs a game. Alex Wood has a 6-3 record on the season with a 1.20 ERA and 65 strikeouts. When it comes to the total in this one, 5 out of San Francisco's last 8 home games got over the line. Oakland's 3-3 to the over in their last 6 interleague games on the road. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants -120 and the over 8 runs. And I had the wrong game queued up. Now we're at our next and final matchup. D-backs Padres, 10:10 p.m. East. Padres are -280, total 7.5. Danielson Lamet for San Diego, Merrill Kelly for Arizona. Kelly's just 3-7 with a 5.06 ERA and a 1.32 WHIP. The last place Diamondbacks still have the worst record in Major League Baseball. They find themselves 35 games below 500. The D-backs are dead last in runs allowed, dead last in hits allowed. They've also gotten the W in only 9 out of 41 road games. They're taking on a Padres club who's on an 8-game winning streak, and they actually have the most home wins in Major League Baseball. This dominant Padres pitching staff also leads the majors in striking batters out at home. Danielson Lamet has a 2.81 ERA along with just 2 losses on the year. This Padres pitching staff is also striking out over 10.8 batters a game on their home field. Now, total-wise, San Diego's 80% to the over in their last 10 ball games, 6-2 to the over in their last 8 at Petco Park. Meanwhile, the D-backs saw their last 4 straight road games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres -1.5 and the over 7.5. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Cleveland +1.5 over 9.5 runs. Seattle plus 1.5 under 8. St. Louis minus 140 under 8 runs. Toronto minus 1.5 over 10 and a hook. Kansas City plus 1.5 under 8 runs. New York Mets minus 1.5 under 6. Tampa Bay minus 160 over 7 and a hook. Miami minus $1.10 under 7.5 runs. Milwaukee minus 1.5 over 8. Atlanta plus $1.10 over 9 runs. Boston minus $1.30 under 10. LA Dodgers minus 1.5 in the under 9 runs. San Francisco minus $1.20 over 8. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-1 in our last 4 extra daily pick tier package plays on my Patreon website. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus 1.5 and the over 7.5 runs. Of that, guys, we're going to jump into some shout outs to our top 10 YouTube commenters over the past couple of days or so. Shout out to Zamundo Futuristic, Otizzy Carrion, Zahid Habib, Blaine Medvick. Shout out to Zorbex Fix. Also want to give a shout out to Mr. Do Right 33, Boxer Buddy, Maurice Smith, Eugene Mayo, and last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Marcus Brown. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. Now, if you do end up getting a membership here today on my Patreon website, just keep in mind Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Saturday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/FrogPage.